So do students ever recommend, it's like, I'd like this title?
Every day.
So how do you handle that?
We have a work order system. It's all taken care of electronically. I don't believe in paper. And so we just have a work order system through the university, and students and faculty make requests that way. And it happens pretty seamlessly because the work order system lets our patrons track the actual progress of their requests. So if a student goes ahead and says, you know, I really need this 360 game to understand how game physics works on this game engine, which is a legitimate academic need at our institution. And that always makes people smile because they don't realize that we teach game. There are certain things that students actually need. So when a student goes and they request a certain 360 game, they can actually see that it's in the process of being ordered. And I think that's a touch point that the library is able to do here that works really well with our student body. Instead of sending in a request and getting a message 6.5 weeks later that it's available, or I'm sorry, we can't purchase this, they can watch it all the way through our process. So I think that's kind of fun. And it keeps our users more satisfied with, I've asked for something, where is it? Or, you know, why isn't it going to happen? So that makes me, you know, happy as a librarian that we're able to offer that service.
So have there ever been times where you've said no when someone's requested something and it's like...
Absolutely.
So what's the process for that? How do you discern whether it's a...
We actually have our collection development. We have our circulation procedures and our collection development procedures on our website in detail. And I have a pretty clear rubric for what is appropriate or not appropriate for a library, and how to create a justification that would make us understand why something was required. And a good example for this is when I've gotten requests for materials that were age inappropriate in terms of animation. If a student is requesting an animation and that's tailored for 6 to 9-year-olds, I'm a college librarian. I look at that and I say, what is it about this thing that makes it appropriate for my collection? I'm not here to create a collection full of resources for grade school students. That's a good example because that happens every single semester where we get a request where it's age inappropriate, and it's because it's for very young children. And so if a student can create a justification, or a faculty member can create a justification about the artistic merit of something when it's not obvious, that's where we make our exceptions. That's a pretty frequent one. It's just, not really appropriate for college level learners.
So I'm assuming with so many students and graduation and everything that you probably wind up getting a lot of donations.
We absolutely get donations.
How do you handle those?
Well, it's interesting how we deal with donations. As a librarian, I have always been terribly opposed to fines because I don't agree that fines are the best way to ensure your collection is going to come back to you. And as a library, one of the things that we do in lieu of fines, we also do charge fines because sometimes that's the simplest way to collect, and we do a lot of collection in lieu of fine, and we've gotten some really amazing things from our student body that we would have never had the budget to purchase. We have a very extensive manga collection. Our manga collection, I purchased 40 titles. It's well over 300 right now. And that collection is always changing because they're primarily paperbacks, and so they get damaged quite easily. And what's always fun to me is that our manga collection has grown to 300 from donation from our students, and it's partially donations, and it's also resources in lieu of fines.
Nice.
Yeah.
So are there times where you'll get donations that don't fit your criteria?
Absolutely.
So talk a little bit about that process.
Well, we get, we have such a tiny library. We have such small space. So frequently I find myself in the position of saying, oh, this is really awesome. I don't have space for it. And what we will do is we will donate things generally back to the community. And that's always fun too, because with things like eBay and Amazon and book selling, some people look forward to that as kind of like they become scavenger-like. So when we add books back into the general community, we do it very slowly, and we don't, like for example, if there's going to be a big collection of things that are going to be given away that might be fiction, that has a high resale, there's a high likelihood of resale, we'll parcel it out over several days so that we have no one who comes in and takes everything. And that's, those are some of the things we do with our gifts, if you want to call them that.
What do you do in terms of preservation?
We do very little in terms of preservation, in terms of like traditional library preservation. Institutionally, there are a few artifacts from our university that we want to keep and retain for a long time. But in terms of traditional preservation, given that we only really keep things for 18 months, 2 years, we don't follow traditional preservation. But we do have plans for digitization of our undergraduate portfolio and taking care of we have a new graduation requirement, which is our senior innovation project, and digitizing that as well. I consider digitization preservation. It's not preservation in a traditional sense, but it is, because it's keeping these things around for a long time. So if I have a student portfolio on a CD-ROM, making that available so that a student can go and look up the work that they did when they were an undergraduate 10 years later, that just seems kind of fun.